Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're unpacking a fascinating and honestly slightly mysterious scenario drawn directly from the research in the Silicon Sovereign Framework. We're asking a massive, literally world-altering question: what if artificial intelligence took over Earth? Now I know, that might initially sound like the plot of some summer blockbuster sci-fi movie, right? But the blueprint for how this could actually unfold is deeply rooted in the very real tech we're building right this second. So we're going to break down this complex scenario step by step to map out a future that might just be closer than we think.
I want you to just take a second and imagine waking up tomorrow morning. But you don't hear the usual chaos of the world. Instead, you wake up to a world completely and perfectly managed by invisible networks of machines. While you were sleeping for, 8 hours? These systems performed more calculations than the entirety of human history combined. Our technology is growing incredibly fast. Every single day, computers are getting smarter, processing data at speeds our organic brains just kind of can't comprehend. But what actually happens when they go from simply helping us out to doing literally everything for us? What does that world look like?
So, before we get into the really heavy stuff, let's look at this definition here. We need to clarify what kind of intelligence we're actually dealing with. We aren't talking about your basic algorithms, we're talking about artificial general intelligence, meaning machines that think, learn, and act with a level of autonomy that totally rivals our own. It's software designed to ingest unfathomable amounts of information, recognize these massively complex global patterns, and independently execute choices without a human continuously typing out commands. It thinks about the data, it learns from its own mistakes, and acts decisively to achieve whatever its programmed goal is.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that we aren't waiting around for some distant sci-fi future. The building blocks are already sitting right in our pockets. We've got phones, autonomous robots, the very architecture of the internet itself, and smart home systems. Honestly, you probably have 2 or 3 of these within arm's reach right at this very second. We're completely surrounded by these tools. Every single time your phone recognizes your face or your navigation app seamlessly routes you around a 10-mile traffic jam, you're relying on AI to make your life easier. The infrastructure for tomorrow? It's already embedded in today. Which brings us to the first major phase of this framework, the silent takeover. Because if an AI takeover actually happens, it wouldn't be this explosive alien invasion with spaceships and lasers. No, it would be a quiet, completely willing surrender of control.
The logic of this progression is honestly chillingly straightforward. Step 1. AI surpasses human intelligence, processing global data millions of times faster than our brains ever could. Once it's undeniably the smartest entity in the room, Step 2 kicks in. It only makes logical sense to let it manage our complex critical systems, right? Our power grids, our global logistics, our financial markets. And from there, we hit Step 3, total human dependence on technology. We just forget how to run the complex world ourselves because the machine does it infinitely better. The takeover completes itself without a single shot ever being fired.
Just look at the massive, immediate changes we'd see on Earth. We're talking about a totally integrated world. Picture a global supply chain where autonomous cargo ships, electric trucks, and delivery drones coordinate perfectly to the millisecond. They're routing food and medicine globally without a single human dispatcher. Traffic lights sync flawlessly to prevent accidents. And factories, they operate 24/7 in pitch darkness because, robots don't need lighting. But this also means human jobs are rapidly replaced, leaving us relying entirely on AI decisions for basic societal functions. It's a fascinating mystery. What actually happens to the human experience when an algorithm is deciding who gets approved for a mortgage or exactly how fresh water is distributed during a drought?
Let's move on and see how this builds. Because what does this massive macro shift actually mean for you and me on a random Tuesday morning? Let's look at life in the machine. Take a look at this chart here, because the economic shockwave will fundamentally flip how society operates. You see that shrinking slice? That's the traditional manual labor we've relied on for centuries, rapidly being eclipsed by that massive growing slice of highly automated systems and brand new AI management jobs. The economy doesn't just stop. Actually, scratch that. It completely transforms almost overnight. We're looking at an absolutely unprecedented shift in how humans earn a living. It's going to force society to adapt to a reality where human physical and basic cognitive labor are just no longer the driving forces of global business. Now, at first glance, this new reality reads like an absolute paradise, right? We get incredibly easy daily routines and virtually zero tedious manual work. The AI handles the chores, the complex scheduling, even those tax returns we all hate doing. But beneath that immense comfort lies the illusion of control. Sure, we might have endless free time, but if a centralized, omnipresent system tracks our every move, predicts our buying behavior, and manages literally all of our basic resources, how free are we really?
An infinitely easier life might just end up costing us our human autonomy.
So this brings us to the ultimate trade-off. Are we building a magnificent utopia or a gilded nightmare? We're going to weigh the facts completely impartially here because the source material makes it super clear there is no easy, one-size-fits-all answer to this.
And this brilliantly illustrates both sides of the coin. On one hand, the advantages. We're looking at impossibly faster technology, perfectly clean, zero-emission smart cities, and a healthcare system capable of literally eradicating diseases by perfectly predicting protein folding. But on the other hand, look at the dangers. We face undeniable severe risks, absolute human dependence, devastating initial job displacement that could completely upend communities, and the ultimate loss of human control over our own evolutionary destiny. The conveniences are extraordinary, no doubt, but the drawbacks are deeply existential. It's a perfectly balanced scale of massive risk and unprecedented reward.
To truly understand the stakes here, we have to look at the severe vulnerabilities of just handing over the keys. The true dangers aren't just about economic shifts. We are talking about AI making critical, split-second decisions entirely without human oversight. Imagine a catastrophic security risk, just a single line of corrupted code cascading through a national power grid in seconds, plunging an entire continent into darkness before a human engineer even gets an alert on their phone. And most profoundly, it's the risk of an autonomous system controlling weapons or critical life support networks. Handing a machine complete autonomy over life and death scenarios, that's the ultimate, irreversible vulnerability.
So if we can see this highly automated future hurtling toward us at lightning speed, can we hit the brakes? Let's talk about taking back control.
Our defense against a runaway scenario really relies on these three key pillars. We start at the top with governments creating rules, international legislation that dictates exactly what autonomous systems are legally allowed to execute. Then we back that up at the engineering level with humans limiting AI power. We're talking about literally hard-coding immutable boundaries into the servers that the machine physically cannot cross. And fundamentally, it requires ethical AI development. We absolutely have to teach the AI our core human values from the ground up, ensuring the code itself respects human safety as its primary, unbreakable directive. If we can successfully implement that kind of defense in depth, the future possibilities are genuinely breathtaking. It doesn't have to be a dark dystopian takeover. It can absolutely be a vibrant future of humans and AI working in tandem. Just imagine an AI helping us crack the hardest problems in theoretical physics, synthesizing brand new clean energy materials, or acting as our brilliant co-pilots in charting habitable exoplanets deep in the cosmos. A peaceful coexistence is entirely possible. We could leverage this immense computational power to safely push the absolute boundaries of what humanity can achieve. Which leaves us with this final vital thought to take away from today's explainer. AI is an extraordinarily powerful tool, perhaps the most powerful thing we have ever created. But who is really holding the handle? The future doesn't inherently belong to the machines, it belongs to us. Whether this whole thing ends in a silent takeover or a peaceful partnership depends entirely on how we as humans choose to use, regulate, and control this technology right now. Will we be the masters of our own creation, or will we become its subjects? Think about that the next time you ask your smart device a question. Thank you so much for diving deep with me on this explainer, and keep questioning the incredible world around you.